Our first item on the agenda is that we need to amend the agenda to add item 1D, open meeting law violation, recognition and cure, and item 4A, trustee resignation. Do I have a motion to amend the agenda?
I'll move we amend the agenda.
I'll second.
All those in favor of amending the agenda say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And the motion passes. Do I have a motion to adopt the amended agenda?
I'll move we adopt the amended agenda.
I'll second.
All those in favor of adopting the amended agenda say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes. The first item on our agenda is recognition and cure of our open meeting law violation. Do I have any questions before we move to the motion?
Is it a motion?
Yep. So if you'll look at your board docs, or I can pass it to whoever would like to. There's a motion out there on what we need to do to cure the open meeting violation. Do I have someone willing to do the motion?
Just read through it real quick before.
Yeah, I'm doing
I
the
didn't
same.
see this in.
Yeah, I didn't know this was here.
Do the motion, Mary?
Sure.
Thank you.
Hereby move that to the extent the actions of the members of the Board of Trustees who inadvertently violated open meeting law by calling two trustees outside of a public noticed board meeting constitutes action of a quorum of the board, engaged in deliberations toward a decision or an actual decision on any matter before the board is a violation of Idaho Open Meetings Act. The Board of Trustees of the Idaho Falls School District 91 hereby moves that the board self-recognize such as a violation of the Idaho Open Meetings Act and self-cure such situation pursuant to section 74-2087 Idaho Code. Further, I hereby move that as no official action was taken by the board, there is no corresponding need for the board to correspondingly declare any action by the board as null and void due to such an open meeting violation. If and when such matter is before the board for deliberation and a possible decision, the board will engage in appropriate deliberations and decision-making pursuant to the Open Meeting Act.
Have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Do you have any questions? Okay. All those in favor of approving the recognition and cure of the open meeting law violation say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And the motion passes. Okay, next we have the Pledge of Allegiance. If everybody would please stand. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, our next item on the agenda is our special orders of the day, beginning with reorganization of the board. I, Hillary Radcliffe, the Vice Chairman, declare the Idaho Falls School District 91 Board of Trustees dissolved and ask the board to proceed with reorganization for the 2023 year. I'll turn it over to you.
Thank
Dr.
you.
Shank.
I, Jim Shank, Superintendent, declare the office of Chairperson of the Board open and ask for nominations.
I'll nominate Hillary Radcliffe as board chair.
I'll second.
Nominations. We have a board member make a motion to cease nominations.
Go ahead, Elizabeth.
I move we cease nominations for the chair.
Okay, we have a first and second.
I'll second.
All right, let's call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Trustee Radcliffe is now declared chair of the Board of Trustees. We'll turn the time to her now.
Okay. I'll now open nominations for the position of vice chair. Do I have any nominations?
I nominate Larry Wilson for vice chair.
I'll second. Do I have any additional nominations? Do I have a motion? Do we need to close it every round?
Oh, yeah, well,
Okay.
let's close nomination.
Do we have a motion to cease the nominations for vice chair? I'll move that we cease the nominations for vice chair. Have a second?
I'll second.
Do we vote on that too? All those in favor of ceasing nominations, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, all those in favor of Larry Wilson for vice chair, say aye.
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 Okay, now we'll open the nominations for treasurer. Are there any nominations for treasurer?
I nominate Paul Hackey for treasurer.
I'll second.
I'll nominate Elizabeth.
Second,
And I think there can be discussion, right?
I guess.
Um,
Do we need to cease
Oh, close,
nominations
well.
first?
I don't think there's short probably procedurally, but there's no one else to nominate, so. Close by default. I'll just say I'm currently the clerk. And so by way of keeping records clean and not having to change signature files and so forth, therefore I would propose that Elizabeth be the treasurer.
So start with your nomination then. All those in favor of Elizabeth Coyote for treasurer, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I'm opposed.
Well, you're outnumbered. Okay, and our last nomination for clerk. Do I have any nominations for clerk?
I nominate Paul Hackey as clerk.
A second.
I'll second.
Okay. Do I have
I'll move
any-
we close the nomination.
Thank you.
I'll second.
All those in favor of closing nominations, say aye.
Aye.
All those in favor of Paul Hackey for clerk, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? And the motion for Paul Hackey for clerk passes. We don't need to do deputy clerk, do we? Or do we need to nominate Jess as officially deputy clerk?
I think
or-
that would be a good idea since
Okay.
it's in our our
Bylaws,
procedures, yeah.
Do I have a nomination for deputy clerk?
I'll nominate Jessica Cushman.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Do I have any additional nominations for deputy clerk?
Move we close the nominations.
Second?
I'll second.
All those in favor of closing the nominations for deputy clerk, please say aye.
Aye.
All those in favor of Jessica Cushman for deputy clerk, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And the motion passes. And I believe that we are officially reorganized.
No, don't we need to make it this one? Last one.
Can I have a motion to accept the reorganization of the Idaho Falls School District 91 Board of Trustees for the 2023 year?
Mouthful.
Say,
I'll move that we accept the reorganization of the Idaho Falls School District 91 Board of Trustees for the 2023 school year.
do I have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And now the board is officially reorganized for the 2023 school year. The next part of our special orders of the day is the code of ethics. And normally we just sign the code of ethics. But tonight I'm actually going to read through the code of ethics. Part of that is over the last few months, maybe just because I've been out more, I don't know, I've got a lot of questions about why does the board not get involved in certain matters? Why don't they discuss issues with teachers? Why don't they, direct coaches when they're not doing what they're supposed to? And part of it is as the board, our primary goal is through policy and to implement policy in the district, but as well, we're bound by this code of ethics. And so I thought it would be good for the public to hear what this code of ethics is and why sometimes when it seems like a board, we're not giving you or getting involved in things that you think we should be, that we're not allowed to. We're bound by this code of ethics to not be involved in these things. So I'm going to just start with number 1, attend all regularly scheduled board meetings insofar as possible. Having read my packet, ensuring that I am informed about issues to be considered at meetings. Recognize that the board must comply with the open meeting law and only has authority to make decisions at official board meetings. Make all decisions based on the available facts in my independent judgment and refuse to surrender that judgment to individuals or special interest groups. Understand that the board makes a decision as a team. Individual board members may not commit the board to any action unless so authorized by official board action. Recognize that decisions are made by a majority vote and the outcome should be supported by all board members. Acknowledge that policy decisions are a primary function of the board and should be made after full discussion at a publicly held board meeting, recognizing that the authority to administer policy rests with the superintendent or administrator of the charter school. Open, fair, and honest, no hidden agendas, and respect the right of other board members to have opinions and ideas which differ from mine. Recognize that the superintendent or the administrator is the board's advisor and should be present at all meetings, except where the superintendent administrator is the subject matter or where the superintendent administrator's presence is a conflict of interest. Further, the superintendent administrator shall not be present during any board deliberations regarding a student expulsion hearing and or when the board deliberates regarding a teacher non-renewal or termination advanced by the administration. Number 9, understand the chain of command and refer problems or complaints to the proper administrative office while refraining from communications that may create conditions of bias should a concern ever rise to the attention of the board as a hearings panel. Keep abreast of important developments in educational trends, research, and practices by individual study and through participation in programs providing such information. Respect the right of the public to be informed about district decisions and school operations. Understand that I will receive information that is confidential and cannot be shared. Give the staff respect and consideration due skilled professional employees and support the employment of those best qualified to serve the district staff while insisting on regular and impartial evaluation of all staff. Present personal criticism of district operations to the superintendent or administrator, not to district staff or to a board meeting. Refuse to use my board position for personal or family gain or prestige. I will announce any conflicts of interest before board action is taken. And remember always that my first and greatest concern must be the educational welfare of the students attending the public schools. And so if everybody could sign those before we leave tonight and get them back to Jess, please, for the file. The next item is on the calendar. And so I believe it's pretty much in line with what we've done before. First Wednesday agenda setting, second Wednesday business meeting, and then 2 weeks later, work session. I did have one modification I thought about making, that work session on March 14th. I know that we've got spring break right after that, and then the following week, I believe most of us are planning on attending the COSBA convention. And so maybe making that March 14th one a TBD meeting. If we need it, we can have it. But since I believe we're going to have some additional meetings in the next, month or two on top of these, if everyone's in agreement with making that one to be determined.
Do we need a motion?
No, this is just a get it in that
So
draft.
working says draft.
Once we agree, if
I
everyone's
don't see
okay
why
with
not.
that. I'll go get that.
Yeah, I'm okay, and it could be canceled too. The one thing I would bring up is what are people's thoughts about bumping it, the 6 o'clock start time on our business meeting date to an earlier time? I think the reasons at 6, if I recall correctly, was to give people time to go home and maybe prepare dinner or have dinner and then come back. But a 6 o'clock start also bleeds into other school activities.
So are you
Later in
suggesting
the
maybe 5
evening.
o'clock start or a 7 o'clock start? I'm not sure which
No,
one.
earlier, 5:30. I don't know. I know there's work. I'm just throwing it out there. It bleeds into a lot of school activities. Tonight's a perfect example. And it impacts others too, administrators and stuff who want to be here, but then also have assignments. So, but I don't know how it impacts the district or the other trustees. I just throw it out there.
5 would be, 5 or 5:30 is hard.
Well,
If
then
the
it
rest
sounds
of the
like
board
6.
likes it, we can go for it, but I'm just saying it would be hard.
Just, I mean, occasionally, last month I showed up in scrubs at the last
Yeah.
minute, which I don't mind, but there are some days that just, there's a possibility
That's
of
fine.
being late.
Sounds like 6 is best for
So,
everybody.
but I happened to 6 too, so I'm in agreement. I'm missing a wrestling match tonight, so.
5:30 is not a problem for us. It's up
Do
to
we
you
want to
guys.
try 5:30? And then if it turns into, like we've got too many people that
Challenge.
have schedule conflicts in the next couple months, we can adjust it for the rest of the year. Would that work to try that?
I'm up for that.
Okay, so let's try 5:30 and see where the chips fall there.
Okay, yeah, we can always
Yeah.
amend
Yeah,
the calendar
Yep.
if we need to.
And 5:30 is better for me than 6, so, or than 5, so this is
give
a
you a little leeway
compromise.
there. Perfect. Okay, so I do believe if there's nothing else on the schedule calendar there that anyone has any modifications or changes to, then that is the end of our special orders of the day.
Do we need to adopt this calendar?
No.
No?
No,
Okay.
I think we just have to agree and post it,
Okay.
so. Is that correct, Jess?
When do we get sworn into office?
I think we only have to do that after an election,
Okay.
so we're all sworn in. If you want though, I can pull up the oath for you, Larry. I'd be happy.
It's just as a trustee that we're sworn in and not as,
The office per se, yep,
I
yep,
forgot.
we're good.
Thank you.
Okay, so we are now in our reports and input section, and the first item we have is student reports. Do I have Mia from Compass?
So I think Compass has not been that busy in the past few months. I think the biggest thing we've had since I've seen you guys last is our 8th grade tours that happened this week. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to help out with that, but from what I've heard, it went pretty well. Other than that, we've been planning quite a couple things. First, we have the annual Compass Royalty event. It's where we have a bunch of different people in school participate in a couple different, I guess you could say, challenges. And then at the end of the assembly, we have our student body vote, who is Compass Royalty for the year. Another thing we've been planning is a Sweethearts dance. We're just kind of planning it right now, but from what I know, we are planning to have it the 11th. But I have heard from quite a couple people that Skylines dance is on the 11th as well, so that's a more to be decided thing. Other than that, we haven't really been planning much, so that's kind of it. Thank you.
Thank you.
If I may,
Oh, yes.
you may have noticed that Mia was on Facebook Live the other day while the 8th graders came over to Compass. So that was a fun thing. Thank you, Mia.
So you were distracting her, that's why she couldn't help. Okay, and then next we have Ari from Skyline.
So we're going into our biggest thing right now, the Super Bowl, and the dates are January 24th to February 3rd. And we've been full swing, got our committees going, got county, neighborhoods, schools, and yeah, so we've been busy doing that. Neighborhoods are next week. We're dropping off the bags on the 18th and 19th, and then on the 25th and 26th, we'll be taking them up. So that's what we're going.
Thank you. And do I have anyone from Emerson tonight? Great. What up? And your name? Tyler? Thanks for being here, Tyler.
Good evening. So for Emerson High School, everybody's getting along. There's no fights. We're starting doing dances. We have one coming up for Valentine's Day. The money that we raise there is going to go towards the school for school supplies and stuff like that. There's one more thing. I'm so sorry.
No, you're fine.
And our Walton is more active. It's where everybody can go and at lunch, just chill, get along with people, meet new friends. And that's becoming more active day to day. So,
Thanks, Tyler.
so sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you're
you're
fine. Go ahead. Thank you so much. Okay, next up we have celebrations. So Kelly, I'll turn it over to you for introductions.
We have Sunnyside here tonight, Kylie Dixon and Chandra Lane.
My name's Kylie Dixon, I'm the principal at Sunnyside. I'm Chandra Lane, I'm the assistant principal, and so we were gonna share our celebrations with you, and we decided to let some of our student leadership share with you, so I'll let them introduce themselves and share with you.
I'm Jane Thompson,
And I'm Emma.
and we're part of the Sunnyside Elementary Student Council. We're also both fifth graders, and we're here today to tell you about what we're learning and doing in fifth grade.
At Sunnyside, each grade does a deep study of a topic, then holds a celebration of learning. Most of these celebrations include showing work samples and inviting our parents and other people in the community to see what we've learned.
In fifth grade right now, we're learning about inventors and inventions, including the invention of things like the game of basketball, windshield wipers, and the TV, which was invented in Ripley, Idaho.
As a part of our learning module, we get to be inventors. We each are working on creating an original invention of our own. We're going through the invention process, and then we'll present our inventions to a Shark Tank. We'll also hold an invention convention where our parents and the public can come and see all of our inventions. This invention convention will be a part of our school STEAM night.
We'd like to invite you to attend our invention convention so you can come and see what we've done and created. Thank you for your time.
So I have a quick question. Oh, you're handing them out. It's gonna say, when is your invention convention?
Good job.
Good job.
Thanks, guys.
Okay, superintendent's report.
Very good, thank you. I have two documents to reference from my report tonight. One's a piece of paper, it looks like this. Another is the little booklet that we've shared in the materials. I'd like to review first the assignment we received last board meeting to discuss our outreach efforts for boundary changes. And so I'll just walk you through those, what it is that we're projecting at this point. We'd like to meet with our PTSO organization presidents January 23rd or around thereof to just go over provide an overview of timeline, review specific problems that we're trying to address, share preliminary ideas and outline program outreach plans. Then around the week of February 6th, we'd like to schedule some schoolhouse meetings with Edgemont and Sunnyside parents. And again, review the problems that we're looking at, provide criteria that solutions need to meet, share preliminary ideas, and then workshop time for parents to work in small groups and brainstorm ideas that they may have. And around the week of February 20th, again, another schoolhouse meeting with Bush and Templeview parents to again go over those 4 bulleted items. Around the week of February 27th, March 6th, and March 13th, review other recommendations and modify proposals as necessary, and then seek additional input from affected parent groups, schedule another schoolhouse meeting as necessary, or conduct online surveys, these sorts of things during that time frame. Then around the week of March 27th, we'd review final recommendations to the Board of Trustees at a work session. And then around April 10th, the week of, we'd ask for the board to make some final decisions regarding that. So that's kind of our projection right now. We've also been in communication with Cooperative Strategies. You may recall that part of that work when we started with the bond effort was to include boundary changes work. So we're meeting with them on the 17th to try to map out some things that we can do in order to facilitate this to our best of our ability. So I wanted to share that with you tonight. So that's our first effort of how it is that we'll go about and try to communicate with the affected families of the proposed boundary changes. So, you know, we'll share good information with what we've been talking about in addition to last month, and then also seek their input. Maybe there might be better ideas out there. So, so that's that work. And then we're very pleased to present to you the HRS Mini Summit, which will be occurring Monday and Tuesday of next week. First of all, thank you for the extra day so that we can all train together. That's part of our calendar. So Monday and Tuesday. And within the booklet that I need to tell Chris and his crew, good job. They did a wonderful job putting this together. And then invite anyone that would like to be able to come over and maybe just do a drop by and see how things are going. And as you review, you can see this is quite a robust event. There's lots of things going on. You can take a look at the Marzano Research presenters that will come to us and do this work. So we're pretty excited about it, looking forward to it, and would entertain any questions that you might have.
And so we're good as a board to just drop by to
Yeah.
any sessions or.
Yeah.
Excellent.
All right, well, thank you. That's my report.
Okay. I think all the students left, so good. Let's go to our high reliability schools report. You want to introduce?
Yeah, Dave, is he? I think he's first. I got to pull up my agenda here, but Dave, why don't you lead us out?
Sure.
Thank you.
Great. Hi, everyone. I'm Dave Webster, the principal over at Taylorview. We're excited about all the stuff that's been happening at Taylorview this year. It's been a busy year so far. So we'd like to take just a short 5 minutes and fill you in on where we are on our HRS process. HRS at Taylorview, they are not certified at any level yet. So we're still working on level 1. This is my first year as the principal over there, which many of you know. And we have a new assistant principal as well, Derek Wadsworth. We've been working hard, but I would say that being new to the school, learning secondary, has probably slowed down the process just slightly when it comes to HRS certification, because we want to make sure we have fidelity to the process. But one of our big celebrations right off the bat is I want to introduce you to Wally. Wally is our Wolverine mascot. He's got a name now. And our mission statement is inspiring all students to work hard, be academically accountable, listen, learn, inspire others to do good, and be empowered to conquer the challenges of tomorrow. So that was one of the first things we as a faculty laid out, and it's been great. It's been fun to see everything that we're doing in Taylorview has to deal with Wally. So he's part of our culture. He's the same mode as before, but we added bodies. Some other celebrations that we have on the next slide there, Jess, is that our student behavior referrals are down from last year. We have the data up through December. And last year there were 171 office discipline referrals in those first months. At this point in the year, we have 69. So we've worked hard as the PBIS culture, going with the HRS as well, but implementing behavior expectations throughout the school, helping the students feel supported and heard. And I think having that dramatic of a drop in our office discipline referrals has really made the school feel different. I wasn't there last year, so I don't know. But I can tell you that it's a daily thing for me to hear people say it feels different and they're excited about it. So the other thing is we have Wally tickets. They had Pride tickets before, but we kind of did the same idea where it's Wally tickets. If students are seen doing good things, and teachers give them Wally tickets. We have a Wally store that's open every Thursday during lunch, and they can come spend their Wally tickets to earn treats and reinforcers. So far this year, our student total is 3,318 Wally tickets handed out. We flipped that as well to where the teachers, they were doing this a little bit before, where the teachers can get Wally tickets as well from the students. So if the students see teachers exemplifying the Wally traits, they can write a ticket and give it to the teachers. The count so far this year is 621 Wally tickets from the students to the teachers. So kind of a fun thing to see happen. They love the Wally store. They line up on Thursdays at lunchtime. Pretty excited. We combined the music and drama department and did our first school musical, which was called High School Musical. It's the Disney version. That's a great event. And then our 8th grade girls basketball team, they did a great job. And some of you may know this or may not, but we worked with the tech department last year in the middle schools to do a pilot program or kind of an experiment. I don't know if that's the right word, but we gave all the students new Chromebooks this year in the middle school because there was such a problem last year with broken Chromebooks. And so one big celebration, just district-wide anyway, to help. There's a 79% reduction in broken Chromebooks to this point last year. So last year at this point, it was something like 470 or something Chromebooks have been broken, and this year it was 101. And that's with both middle schools. So that's a huge savings financially when it comes to that. We've also implemented some fun things. We do tech tickets. So we do a tech check just randomly, and if the kids meet certain criteria with their Chromebooks, then we've got rewards that we'll draw. They get AirPods, AirPod Pros, and at the end of the year, we'll do a drawing for 2 different iPads as an incentive for them to take care of their Chromebooks. And we've also told them they'll get the same Chromebook they got this year, next year. So that helps them understand this is their Chromebook. The idea is hopefully we'll be able to let them take that same Chromebook to the high school, and they'll just have some pride in taking care of it. And it's been. So when it comes to our areas of focus, the next slide there, you'll see currently when we look back at an HRS team at the original survey, we only had one area at Taylorview that needed improved, and that was 1.6. So that was 2020. Now we've done updated surveys and sent to parents, staff, teachers, and students. And so what you see here on this graph essentially is the new data. 4.33 is improved according to HRS, and 3.0 or above is what you would need for certification. But we have in 1.1 the fact that the staff perceiving the school environment to be safe and orderly. There's a 73% agree or strongly agree. And one thing that we did this year, Mrs. Smith helped with that as well. There were 17 teachers we moved classrooms with at the end of last year. And that was to change the flow of the school and to isolate the 7th graders from the 8th graders. And I think that that's been a very positive thing when it comes to the flow of the school and keeping the kids from intermingling and potential issues. But also super grateful for those teachers, because to move a classroom isn't an easy thing to ask. And to have 17 people move, that's a big deal. 1.2, this is the students, parents, and the community perceiving the school to be safe and orderly. We had 82% of the community that agree or are neutral. So when the question was asked, it was on a scale of 5, 3 being neutral, 5 being agree or strongly agree, 4 being agree. So what we've counted is the neutral, agree, and strongly agree. So the disagree would be 18%. 1.3, teachers have formal roles in the decision-making process. Well, they were at 3.8, which is approved, but the teachers and staff only voted 68.9 in agree or neutral. So that's an area that we'll be focusing as a team. The PLC process is strong, 85.7% agree between the staff. Also, 1.5 teachers have formal ways to provide input. That was a 68.9 well. some of this is, I think, new administration and also them understanding the process to come talk to us with the team leads and some of that stuff. We had about 16 new teachers hired last year at Taylorview, so it takes some time to get them up to speed on how they can feel heard as well. Students, parents have formal ways to provide input. This was the part before that was improved, 2.99, so it's just barely off. When we surveyed the students and the parents, 86.3% agreed or were neutral that they have formal. So I felt like that's pretty strong on that. And then the success of the whole school as well as individuals within the school is appropriately acknowledged, 8.9%. And then the physical operation and technological resources of the school are managed directly supports teachers, 18% is the new data. So we will be working on 1.3, 1.5, and then establishing 1.6 as we go through the certification process. Some of our school goals on the next slide. Our reading goal is that at least 60% of Taylorview's 8th grade students will score proficient on their 2023 ELA ISAT. Currently, on the iStation testing, we're scoring 59% proficient. So we'll continue to work on that. Math, at least 45% of Taylorview's 8th grade students will score proficient on the 2023 math ISAT. Unfortunately, we don't have a good way right now to see where the students are at math. We have iReady as our tool, and that window is this week. So we don't have that data collected yet. And the way iReady looks at it is a little bit different. It's where they are right now. That it's not so much a proficiency scale, but we feel confident that we should be pretty close to that. And then also to become HRS certified level 1 for the end of the school year. That's what we're looking to. Now, HRS is never done, and I think that's important to realize. We might be able to be certified, but it's not done. We're constantly working to be highly reliable, and so. When I came over here, I worked hard at Edgemont with that team to get certification, but it's not done. And I think that that's one thing that's important to realize is we're going to continually grow in our HRS process. So I felt personally that I don't want to push super hard to come in and get certified because I think we probably could have real quick if we really want to just run through it. But I wanted to feel confident that we as a faculty and a staff are an HRS school. And I think that that's an important thing to remember as a school, is that this isn't just something we're trying to do because we know that we're wanted and we want, but we want to make sure that it's a consistent thing. And maybe I'm beating that drum a little bit because I worked to get with the team at Edgemont to be certified, and then I left. And so it's like I have a bit of a vision of I want these schools to be highly reliable because I think truly that that's what helps these kids. And just my understanding through the trainings I've been to, it's not a quick process. It could take 10 years. And I think that's important to remember. But anyway, sorry, soapbox. So our current HRS work for the year, the next slide there. Again, working on level 1. Told you a little bit about being administrators, working through some of that. Teachers have been great. The HRS team have been great to support that and that stuff. But there's also been a lot going on the last couple of years that you guys we've been learning that culture, making some adjustments, trying to see what we can do to get those leading indicators strong. And then this next week is probably when we'll really hit as an HRS team to work every week. We'll have a meeting to pull together the nuts and bolts that we submit for certification to the HRS. It's a totally independent. So with that, any questions?
Sounds like a busy transition.
It's been fun. I mean, middle school kids are not elementary kids. Different developmentally. But I appreciate you all for the work, the love that I feel from you for the kids, but for everybody in this room. These kids are our future, and it's incredible to see what they have to deal with, some of them, and just sometimes just having them in the school alone is success. And having them be there and not so, we want to get them to learn, but we got to get them to be human sometimes first and let them know that they're there. And you guys know that, but truly, I'm grateful for.
Hey, Dave, one question. Did you take the math ISAT last year?
Yeah,
So can't you do a year over year comparison?
we
on-
can, that's why we selected 45%. I can't remember the number exactly off of the top of my head where we were last year, I think. And what we were looking at was the seventh grade performance last year compared to where
Where
because
they are
it's going
this
to be
year.
the same kids.
Right.
So I believe that they were about 44%. Correct, but if I'm correct, but we also worked as the team this summer at the principal meeting to develop that district-wide goal. And so the math goal we have is our math goal is there to help support the district meet their goals as well.
Okay.
So we kind of know, but I didn't feel super confident coming in here with big numbers and say, this is where our kids are at. Does
Okay.
that make sense?
Yeah.
So I can tell you 33% of our students were already at or above grade level when we started school this year. 30%, according to iReady, were below grade level, which is the yellow section. So 63%. And the weird thing about iReady is they're supposed to come in below level because they're basically sixth or seventh graders that we're testing at an eighth grade level. So that's why it's weird for me and iReady, because it's not apples to apples necessarily like iStation. So it's a little bit trickier to understand because they basically judge them against the end of the year where they think they should be. And so when you see a bunch of yellow or red the first of the year, well, it's kind of expected because they're going to get out of it. So we had 63% of our kids that were in the yellow, red, or /red on the iRate assessment starting the year. But at the end of this week, we should get a little bit of an update of how many are moving in those tiers.
Okay.
Does
Thank
that
you.
help?
Yep.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Kelly, you want to?
Okay, Teresa Bunker, Kathy Pilkington.
Good evening. I'm Kathy Pilkington, formerly Smith. I'm principal at Teresa Bunker Elementary this year. So thank you for the opportunity to present. Teresa Bunker, our school celebrations, I just wanted to highlight a few things. Our HRS level, we started building our slide decks and met with Toby when he came in. And so we should be ready to submit for level 1 certification by February 28th. Is our date that we hope to submit to him. And I'll talk a little bit more about that as we go. And then also celebrating that we've seen an increase in our iStation, our reading scores school-wide from September to December. So we're celebrating that as well. And then an increase in our iReady math utilization of the iReady, making sure that each student passes at least 2 lessons a week so that we are utilizing that to our ability with our interventions. Then also just kind of highlighting our school building culture and teaching our kids kind of in Teresa Bunker. And I used to teach there, and so I'm very familiar with the building, but it's very tucked in this neighborhood kind of back behind. And so they kind of feel a little isolated, a little hidden sometimes. And really just getting our students to recognize that they are part of the D91 system has kind of been our goal. And so we're kind of celebrating that we've been encouraging students to understand that they are part of the D91 system. They'll be going to Taylorview, they'll be going to IF, to Compass, and participating in some of those things. So we started out with Emotion Bowl and kind of getting them excited about supporting their local school or the school that they'll be going into, the fall carnival, and having BYUI students come over and kind of talking about college career ready kinds of things, so that they're just aware of the things around them in the world and that they are part of a bigger system and they are part of this system. And also just looking into some high school peers coming over to just kind of help some of our 6th graders that to me maybe need a little bit of a role model. So those are our celebrations that we're highlighting this evening. On the iStation, I just wanted to kind of show from September to December. I did have January, but when I put this up yesterday, we had one class that hadn't tested yet. We had a teacher out, so I didn't really highlight January per se. But you can kind of look at the green, we're having growth within our iStations. So we're continuing to look at that to make sure that we have 40 minutes of intervention for students in iReady as well. Our areas of focus, things that we are working on right now, are HRS level 1 certification. Again, we plan to submit that by February 28th. I'll talk a little bit more about that in the next couple slides. Also just organizing school-wide, kind of putting in systems and things so that we have leadership teams that are working with our teachers. So our HRS team, we just kind of restructured that for our instructional leadership. We put in place an organizational leadership team, that's our Bobcat team, and so they would work on organizational things and scheduling, those kinds of things. And then our PBIS team, which was already in place, and just kind of continuing to work on school culture and things like that. Another area of focus is our iReady. Obviously, we're pushing that what each student should pass 2 lessons per week in iReady for proficiency, and progress monitoring that with our instructional groups and having that be fluid so that we're meeting students' needs and our intervention needs. And we just readjust those every time that we have a window for the testing for iReady. iStation reading, again, just focusing on 40 minutes per week, and progress monitoring for interventions there as well. Our school goals, so for reading, we are looking at, we're shooting for 70% of our students in grades K through 3 will score proficient on the spring IRI, and an increase in overall student achievement in grades 3 through 6 on our ELA ISAT this spring. In math, we're looking at a goal of increasing our student overall proficiency again in grades 3 through 6 on math ISAT in the spring, and again, just all students passing those 2 iReady lessons each week. Our HRS goals, again, level 1 certification by the end of February, and we will begin our HRS team and staff to create a timeline for level 2 once we have that complete. But we plan to send out our first level 2 survey in March. Our current HRS work is our level 1 certification. We're very excited about that. I'm very grateful for the district bringing in HRS and bringing in Toby Both. Our HRS team was able to meet with him, and he really helped us kind of understand building the slide decks and the evidence for the level 1 certification. And so we've really made a lot of progress in doing that. And then we plan to also attend, we have our staff development days coming up on the 16th and 17th, Monday and Tuesday. I've asked my HRS team to meet, to plan to attend. There's a last session on each of the 2 days with Toby Boss. That's kind of a Q&A. And so I've asked my HRS team to attend that with me so that we can work with Toby to kind of finalize and make sure that all of our slide decks are put together and that they will be approved once we submit them. So we're excited to have that. And then our HRS level 2 certification, our HRS team will start looking at that with our staff and create a timeline. But just kind of in preparation for that, I've asked for all of our teachers to attend during the 2 days, to attend the instructional rounds. There are several sessions of that offered by Toby Boss. So I've asked my teachers to all attend one of those sessions so we're all on the same page as we move into level 2 in that certification process. And then I also asked them all to attend a PLC and HRS connection. There are some sessions there's one session that's a PLC HRS connection and how those work together. That's my preference, but it's just one session. So they're going to try to go to that one. There's 100 participants that can go, and if they can't get into that one, then I just asked them to go to one of the PLC process so that we're all just on that same page as we begin that conversation with the level 2 certification. And any questions?
Thanks, Kathy.
Good, thanks, Kathy.
Thank you.
Okay, and then next we have Linden Park, Kevin Cowley and Heather Jarrett.
Well, thank you guys so much for giving us some time to celebrate the good things going on at Linden Park. I'm Kevin Cowley, I'm the principal, and it's year 2. It's a blast to be at Linden Park, and really what makes it amazing is we have great kids, we have great parents, but especially we have amazing staff, and they just make things flow so well there at Linden Park. So we have 5 goals for the 2022-2023 school year. We want to maintain HRS level 1. Like Dave said, it doesn't stop. We certified last spring, but there's always things we can improve. And in our working document, that's one of our columns is, now what, right? What are we going to do now? Let's keep going. Second goal, work towards HRS level 2 certification by spring of 2024. And 3, for reading on our IRI and iStation, we have a 2-part goal because I think both parts of this need to be recognized. we want to shoot for 60% proficiency on the iStation test. The highest it's ever been at Linden Park in the history of that test is 57%. We definitely got to beat that. We were super close last year. We're going to do it. But I also want to celebrate kids that aren't quite there yet, but they're catching up. And so we're going to have that goal of 85% proficient or made more than 1 year's growth. Because if you're making a year's growth and you're behind, you can't catch up. So we want them to make more than a year's growth if they're behind. iReady Math, our goal is 50% proficient. At the beginning of the year, we were at 9%. And so far on our iReady Math window, we're at 27%. I was looking at our kindergarten, and our kindergarten's rocking it. They're at 50% right now. And so about halfway through the school year, and they're doing great to get those kids where they need to be. So we're excited about that. A huge action step that we're putting into place is just really hitting those iReady lessons hard. And we try not to talk about time in iReady or necessarily how many lessons you complete, but how many lessons you pass. And so we've had 10,299 iReady lessons completed this year with a 91% pass rate. And we're just trying to consistently put in incentives to help kids stay focused and try to work on passing those lessons. Same goal for iReady Math, that 85% proficient or more than 1 year's growth. And we figure if that's what we're doing every year, then kids are going to get to that proficiency eventually, because they will catch up. Last goal, we had this last year, but I think it's so essential having that 3-to-1 ratio of praise to correction. And we want that in the class where teachers are giving praise as they're teaching, and there needs to be correction involved, but we should have way more praise included in our classroom. But we want to do that as a staff, as an office as well, where whether they're minor or major behavior referrals, we want 3 times as many positive referrals to the office than we have negative referrals. In certifying HRS level 1, our HRS committee was in charge of that last year, and I ran that. And then this year we kind of switched it with it being safe and collaborative schools for HRS level 1. We moved maintenance of level 1 to our school culture committee, and I'm continuing with that. And because I'm so nice, I gave Heather our HRS committee, and she's dominating level 2. She's doing awesome. She'll report on that. But just a little maintenance. I won't go over everything we're doing to keep that safe and collaborative environment at Linden Park, because there's a lot that goes on and everybody plays a role. But one of the big changes this year is our PLC process. We really tightened that up. We made a PLC handbook and a PLC schedule. Teachers have reported that I just know what I'm coming to do. I know what data needs to be entered. Our work is focused. I've been a teacher. I've been part of PLCs before, and I totally know the what are we supposed to do today mentality. When you arrive, you're like, I'm not quite sure what we're doing. So this just kind of helped that. They're rotating between the focus. So one Friday, they're coming with data prepared and ready to talk about on student level math. And then next week on student level ELA, next week grade level math, next week grade level ELA, and then the 5th week SEL, and the counselor runs that. Our interventionist runs the intervention portions of ELA and math. Our grade levels run the on grade level portion of the PLCs. And we just really want to attack it from all sides. We want to hit them where they're at, but also try and get them to that proficiency on level standards. This is one of our on student level charts. There's a whole bunch of them, but in interventions, we try and track how students are doing, whether it's in fluency or comprehension or whatever they're working on. And every month we do an easy CBM where it measures their fluency. But if a kid needs more attention, then we'll do that every week, and we'll put in additional triple dip interventions just to continue to bring them up. As far as on grade level, those grade level PLCs, we wanted them to make sure they have norms, make sure they have their own PLC goals, which they've done, and then, of course, have those common formative assessments for grade level standards and focusing specifically on priority standards that have been identified. And they've done that, and they're inputting that data in, and they're providing intervention on grade level standards as well. That focus with SEL, we talked about the 3-to-1 ratio that we're looking for of positive praise to correction, and we were able to do that last year. We have the Toby tickets that you guys saw in our presentation last year. What I'd like to focus on with that is it's for something spectacular, that these kids are being safe, respectful, responsible, our 3 rules. The teacher fills that out. We go, we talk to the kid as an administrator, and they get to choose a prize. They get to take that ticket home. And then we make a call to parents for those Toby tickets and just tell them how awesome their kids are doing. And it's still kind of flipping that script. Parents are always nervous when the office calls, but they're so excited about hearing the positive things their kids are doing, and we want to continue to have that. So we had 556 Toby tickets last year that we gave out, and we set that goal of having 800 Toby tickets this year that we give out. We're 55% of the way there. We've given out 439 of those and made 439 calls. That makes our Friday the best part of the week. So with that, we kind of try and track, is it doing anything for our behavior referrals? And we have seen a huge reduction in behavior referrals from year to year, but also since the beginning of the year. We got about 100 extra kids this year. And so in September, we definitely learn those new kids and how to work with them. So there are a couple more referrals. In December, we had a 6.54-to-1 ratio of positive praise to correction. So we're excited about that.
Beyond
That's all I have for HRS level 1 report. We'll turn the time over to Heather for level 2.
So level 2 is about ensuring that we've got teaching going on in all of our classrooms. And so the first kind of to lay the groundwork for that was to establish our model of instruction. So this is just a snapshot picture of part of it. But the big goal here was that as a whole staff, we've decided what we want instruction to look like for our kids at Linden Park. And so that was what we took some time, the PD days in October, and narrowed down to the elements that we felt like were best for our kids. And so it's created kind of that common framework to establish everything that we want to do for level 2. The other thing, that next part, to the next slide, is setting, our teachers setting individual professional goals. And so these have been set for a long time, and this year we're working with them more. And so teachers are every other month reflecting on their progress towards that goal that they met. They've put them into student-friendly terms and posted them on their doors. So it's clear to kids that our teachers are working on things too, and that goal setting that we're doing with our kids is also something that teachers as professionals are doing as well. So those are 2 of the things that we've accomplished. Something that's in progress is narrowing some predominant strategies that our teachers are doing to keep things that consistent across grade levels. And so one of the things that we started this year is the writing strategy that we're making sure is happening across grade levels to keep that consistency. So we're going to continue to do that. We've also got a system in place for teachers to be sharing their resources. So the good things that are happening in classrooms are being shared with across the campus. And then we are planning for instructional rounds, again with that idea of using the expertise that we have in our building, the things that we know work with our Linden Park kids, and sharing that across the campus. And so planning on instructional rounds for our teachers to group to visit classrooms and learn from each other. Level 2.
Any questions?
Well done.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Angela, I think you were up with the finals.
I am. So Dr. Chain and I have, he had tasked me this year to kind of help you guys understand how our cycles work. So I know we did budgeting, you know, when that came up. And one of the things we discussed was how we would look at the financial stability of the district, for instance. And while right now with the federal dollars, this is not, you know, it hasn't been a great source of concern over the last couple of years. I think as we move forward and the federal money starts to dwindle, these kind of conversations are what you guys would need to make decisions about what to do with limited resources, which is something that, you know, pre-COVID we often did, if that makes sense. So one of the things that happens in January, you know, I was telling Dr. Shank that, you know, I come back from break and go, hey, we're all going to start 2023, and most principals would agree that they've been in 2023 for quite a few months now. But this is when finance finally starts checking what's going on in the system. And one of the reasons for that is, if you remember from our budgeting discussions, they're all predictions, right? So the state gives me some guidelines and we use, you know, projected enrollment to determine what our revenue, for instance, will be. And so in January, and actually I was hoping we'd have it by today, but usually by the 15th, the state provides me with a list of what our actual numbers will look like. So as opposed to projecting for 2023, which we'll start doing in March, this is the month when I finally find out at how close my guess was, right, basically. And I'm pleased to say that so far for everything except for, because we have what we call the foundation payment, which is, you know, salary-based apportionment. It's the funding for students. We have special payments as well, right? So far in all of our special distributions, including K3, which of course was a concern if you remember earlier in the year, we've done quite well. We haven't had a negative yet in what we predicted. So we'll find out on the 15th or soon after, if that falls on a weekend. The state will provide me with a list of our actuals. So even though they've only paid us in some cases 80%, or for the foundation payment, they pay us in force, right? I will have an exact number based on my projection as to whether we're going to be ahead or below. Keeping in mind that if we're ahead, it's generally due to student counts and we're paying more expenses. So what I'd like to do is next month come back with those variances. The other thing is we've been drawing on the federal funds. We've had some back and forth with the state on the things that we've spent there, and so now we will have a good number of what's projected for the year to close out. And then they did some redistribution. It was not a lot of money, a few $1,000s, but we should be able to look and see if we have, you know, extra money that we may not spend, keeping in mind that the 24 cap's coming, right? It's 2023. So we thought it was important that maybe we talk about these days, you know, similar to like the budget hearing, those days that are important, and this coming up would be a really good time to measure, not just, and in the same boat, the expenses, right? So we budget, and then as long as no one's over budget based on what we predicted, we don't have a variance. So mid-year is a good time to look and say, hey, are we staffing? You know, do we have one thing traditionally, and it hasn't because we can't find them, sub costs, right? So about this time of year, we can tell, hey, we've had a lot of illness, the subs are really expensive, this is going to be a problem. And so those kind of conversations are a good way for us to measure the financial stability, because those are the funds that we've allocated, and we can kind of take a look and say, okay. So next month, once the state has provided me, I'll be giving you guys some preliminary financials, I guess you could call them, that show, you know, what we predicted. And we did this a few years ago. Some of you probably remember, although I swear, I know that it's not as entertaining to you guys as it is to me, but I'm hoping that it's a good time for you guys to look at it and start getting familiar with that, because as we go into less federal dollars, it's a good time to look at our needs versus our wants based on those types of things. Because traditionally, you know, with the 96% of our money going towards staff, there isn't a lot of other dollars to play with, right? And we've had these discussions over the year. That changed with COVID, but I would suspect that we're going to go back to those days of really managing the 4%, not this other stuff that's been wonderful and helpful, and we've done some good things. But my hope is that, you know, you guys can ask questions and we can look at it and that way prepare ourselves for moving forward when we're dealing with more scarcity than we've seen in the last few years. So that is my comments on the finance, you know, and if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them, but I looked even again today to see if they'd put it out yet, because they put it in the secure server and it's not quite there. But I generally get it by January 15th. So I won't do it in your business session because I know you have work to do, but in January, or I'm sorry, in February, I think that's when I can give you some charts and we can talk about it with the understanding that obviously it's been a few flush years, so we're not super worried about it again this year, but at least going forward, it will be helpful when we have to come to you and say, hey, we need to make a decision, you know. So does anyone have any questions?
Good, thanks, Angela.
Thank you.
Ed Foundation report. So Margaret.
Good evening. Thank you for giving me some time today. The superintendent has asked me to provide you just some quick updates from the Education Foundation and then also from the Communications Department. So I thought I would start with the Foundation. As most of you know, the Foundation is a separate 501(c)(3) entity, and its primary focus is to support our teachers and inspire our students. So some of the programs that we oversee and some of the work that we've done so far this year is last spring, we were able, through partnerships with local organizations and some families, award more than $30,000 in scholarships to our graduates or former graduates. There are a couple of programs that provide scholarships for students who are in college. We also introduced a new scholarship this year, the Heart of D91, which is funded by the Century Ride, which is a fundraising event that we hold in August. We're very excited to launch that scholarship. In addition, so far this year, we've awarded more than $100,000 of teacher grants to teachers in schools and programs across the district. That's through a long-time partnership with the Make Family Foundation. And again, with some funding from some other smaller donors and the Heart of Idaho Century Ride, we're hoping to expand that program a little bit and give some more grants before the end of the year. We just wrapped up our annual fundraising drive and we'll gear up for the Idaho Gives campaign in May. And then again, we're starting to plan for the Century Ride to raise money for next year's operations. And then we are continuing to work and just build relationships with businesses, community organizations to increase our donor base, and also work with parents and patrons and alumni in the communities. Again, raise the money so we can expand our program. So that's kind of some highlights from the Foundation. If anyone has questions or anything, we're getting ready to kick off that scholarship season. So in the next couple of weeks, we'll start to see the postings about this year's scholarships.
Margaret, I've got a question on those grants. Do the individual teachers write the application for the grant? Does the Ed Foundation help with the grant writing?
We have a simple application form that we've kind of put together. We've tweaked it over the years based on input from teachers and also with the Make Foundation. Our goal is to make it as simple as possible, but still provide enough detail so that the Make Foundation, when we review those grants, have the information they need to make those awards. Sometimes they're filled out by teachers, sometimes they're filled out by principals, sometimes they're filled out by program directors. But we're basically looking for an overview of the project, how it connects to the district's goals, what kind of an impact is it going to make, and then a simple budget just again, so we've got some accountability there. Then for the communications department, our work is really focused on supporting the goals that are outlined by the Board of Trustees and also in our continuous improvement plan. And a priority is to reach out to our community and provide regular, ongoing, positive, and transparent communications. And we work very hard to meet that and do that work. A lot of our work this year involved the launch of our new website platforms. in response to, some requests from the Board of Trustees as a whole, that our websites be more relevant, a little easier to navigate, and more up to date for our parents and patrons. We worked with technology, picked a new platform, and launched that new site in June. Did a lot of tweaking with schools in June, July, and worked with parents sort of in August. We've also, as part of that project, we reviewed content that was currently on our website. We did a lot of updates. We've also made a lot of changes to ensure that the content is ADA compliant. If you will remember, several years ago, the district was sued, like lots of other school districts, because a lot of our materials and information we posted was not ADA compliant. So we've really focused on that. We've also rearranged resources in our department. We're just a two-man operation, but Misty Frost, who was a communications assistant, is now a communications content specialist. So she works closely with our schools to create content, review websites, push out district messages on those school websites, and then also does training and works hand in hand with a lot of schools, collaborates with them to, again, make sure that our content is up to date and relevant. Websites, I think, like HRS work, are always a work in progress. There's always more that we can do. But I think overall that transition has been a good change for the district, and we're seeing good traffic on our websites. And I think they are a little easier to navigate and for folks to find the information that we need. We are continuing to enhance our use of other communication tools. We've seen increases in both our Instagram and Facebook page, which are the primary tools that we use with social media, as well as our traditional tools like our monthly parent newsletter. So we're excited about that work. And then as we continue through this year, we are looking to integrate video in what we're doing, and using video more to tell our stories, and also increase the use of graphics. With our Facebook Live chats, we have sort of tweaked that model a little bit so that we still do the regular updates where Dr. Shank has an opportunity to come and talk about the things that are happening in the district. We're also trying to get him out into classrooms, out into schools to talk about students, to talk with teachers about what they're doing. An example of that was Monday with Compass Academy students talking about the 8th grade tours and kind of gearing up for the recruitment season. Tomorrow we'll be at the Career Technical Education Center talking to CTEC students, as our 8th graders are also visiting that facility. So I think you'll see more of that in the coming months. A lot of our work in the fall was devoted to sharing information about the proposed bond and our facilities needs. At the same time, we continued our ongoing work, which is a little bit of everything. It's, supporting our schools with our crisis and safety communications, emergency communications. We're also working with other departments and with schools to promote district-wide programs like One District, One Book, the career fair, our HRS work. We also work with the media, and then also work with community groups to see how we can foster and strengthen some of our partnerships in the community. So we'll continue to do that work. And then with the second part of the year, we're looking at doing some targeted campaigns every month where you will see messages sort of on all of our different communication channels. January focusing on options and opportunities in the district, especially as our high school students start registering for the next year. We're also planning to do some promotions around all-day kindergarten with some video and video testimonials from parents looking at our career and technical education opportunities, and graduate profiles, which we traditionally do in May. So that's kind of an overview of some of the work that we have done this school year, and then also work that we are planning to do in that. Any questions or anything we can do that? Okay, thank you. I appreciate the opportunity. I love my job. There's just great stuff that happens in our district. We have such wonderful teachers, and so it's a pleasure to be able to serve the community. So thank you. Thank you.
Okay, up next, Chris, graduation special diplomas.
Yeah, so I'm here to talk about some opportunities for different diplomas that the state, these are all ones that the state has made available, specialty diplomas. Okay, so there are three. One is a STEM diploma, one is a seal of biliteracy or a biliteracy diploma, and the other is a workforce readiness and career technical education diploma. So each of these, should you approve them, would be ones that students can earn above and beyond the regular diploma. They still have to earn the regular credits for the diploma, and then these would be extra seals that they would get in addition to that diploma as a special recognition. So I'll just go over each of them briefly and kind of what would be involved. The STEM diploma, and this came up at the last meeting where we were talking about that senior math requirement, and some of those kids that are going to take that math, what kind of recognition could they get? Well, this would be the recognition they would get. To get the STEM diploma, they would need to get 12 credits in math, 12 credits in science, and 8 additional credits in STEM. And there is a specific list of classes that count as STEM. So we're proposing that we start this next year because there's going to be work with counselors, communication with parents and students and teachers to make sure that all kids have that opportunity to know what they need to do to earn these diplomas. So that would be that special STEM diploma. And then the seal of biliteracy is essentially that special diploma that recognizes this student is literate in multiple languages. And so there are some specific criteria that in English, they would have to show that they're proficient on English tests like the ISAT or something like that. And then there would also have to be something that would show they're literate in that second language. And we have a process for that. And that when students want to apply for that, there's going to be kind of like a checklist, and they'll have to demonstrate proficiency in a specific way and get that signed off on. And then the workforce readiness and career technical education diploma, those would be ones, and BevPot is very up to speed on exactly what students need to get for that. But it's to get these badges and skill stacks in the professional technical realm. They earn those certifications, and then they would get that specialty diploma. So I think these three are really great opportunities to demonstrate that we're innovative. These are approved statewide, so if a student has this kind of diploma, it's going to make sense to all of the colleges in Idaho or other school districts around. If a student did move to a different district and they were working on one of these and the other district also offered it, they could continue working on that. So I think it makes sense to go with these three diplomas.
Chris, just a follow-up question. If I understood you correctly, you said you don't want to institute this until next school year?
I think it would make sense to start it next school year. I think if we did it this year, the communication that would be required to make sure all the students got the information, all the counselors got the information. There's some of these, like the seal of biliteracy. There might be a couple teachers, there were some teachers actually that were asking us about the seal of biliteracy at the end of last year that might be ready to do all the checklists for that. But for some of the others, I don't think we could be up to speed. I think we would look a little fragmented trying to do it this year.
Can I just help me understand that a little bit? I don't understand what you and your team have to go through to make it happen this year. But for example, I would hate that a student that took 12 credits of mathematics gets penalized because our administration decides that next year's better. So we're not going to give you this special diploma even though you took 12 credits of math. Why would we not want to do that?
Yeah, I think the conversation that we had when we were initially talking about this, and mainly just in our department, so this is the opportunity to weigh in and have more questions about it, is that if a student didn't know about it until, end of January this year, they might not have enrolled in a class right now, second trimester, and missed out on that opportunity. And so there might be some kids that felt like they were left out because we didn't move on this earlier, when really this is as soon as we could have moved on it this year. So I don't feel bad about the when we're introducing this, but to just, I don't know, I kind of like to have a real organized layout, make sure everyone is fully communicated with. And so starting next year would give us the opportunity to do that. But if the board decides, no, we want to do this for kids this year, we'll make it happen. We'll gather people together and get them trained. So it's totally up to you guys.
I hear you. I like to do things real organized also, but I also like to do things that will benefit the kids. Let me just push back a little bit on your response. It's a good response. But couldn't you make that same argument for next year? If a kid decided to not take math their sophomore year or their junior year, wouldn't they get, and we instigated this next year, wouldn't you get the same response about, well, I didn't know about it. So whether you institute it this year or next year, that response could come either way.
Yeah, absolutely. And it could, like with the third piece of the STEM diploma, because they have to take extra STEM classes. So there could be a kid next year that's a senior that it's like, shucks, I wish I'd have taken one more
Right.
STEM class.
So if that's the case, then my preference would be let's not, I mean, I know we're not voting on it today, but I guess that's my next question, Hillary, is when, or Dr. Shank, either one, like what's the next step on this? But like I said, why disadvantage a student that's qualified just because they're graduating this year versus next year? If they met the qualifications, I'd sure love them to get the recognition. But
Maybe, Chris, is there a way to look and see what students even potentially qualify for
good
it?
question.
I mean, maybe that's.
Yeah, and that's some of the training with counselors and other folks is how are we gonna do, like this, the seal of biliteracy, a lot of that's gonna be on the student to complete the work to say, I want to apply for this. But for the STEM diploma,
STEM one,
probably
yeah.
be more of the school looking at transcripts and counselors advising kids and saying, maybe well, you're on track for the STEM diploma. If you took one more STEM class, you could get this special diploma. So to do the advising for a lot of students would be challenging this year.
Yeah, and I mean, I think you're right on it. Really, the STEM one is probably the main one that possibly this year. I mean, and I'm
Well, and the
assuming it
language
is a pretty small group of kids that got 32 science credits. Well, if they have to have all three of those.
Oh, they have to have all three of those?
Yeah. So, I mean, this is gonna be a
thought it was
pretty
one or
small
two or
group at
three.
this point, you know, that if we had 3 kids, maybe we could look at something there and then working to implement it or something like that. So, but I think the next step would be a first reading, right?
Yes.
See what?
A first reading if we decide to move forward with it. See,
Maybe we can look into possibility of who might qualify. Just a quick brush to try to get some data put together.
And these diplomas are part of the curriculum policy that's gonna be next month, right? Are we gonna hear back from the school board?
Maybe February, maybe January work session. Yeah.
Because we're waiting for the School Boards Association to come back with their final feedback on the curriculum policy. And these are included in that curriculum policy.
So Chris, if we wanted to create special recognition that's outside of what you've put together, does that then, like, is that a proposal that has to go to the State Board of Education, or do we have the authority to say, hey, we want to recognize students who do X for at graduation?
I would, personally, I would hesitate to do anything like that that would be in the student information system that, like in our school. These would make sense to go in there because they're statewide and recognized. Other recognitions like that would be more D91 internal. And we could create those. But they would only really make sense to us.
Yeah, we began with these. These are not unfamiliar around other states even, that they're giving these seals of additional recognition on a diploma. But again, it's state supported. I think that's part of it.
Thanks, Chris, appreciate it. Okay, patron input. Ms. Snyder, if you'd like to come out. Chase, are you familiar with the patron input, the 3 minutes? Yes, we'll time you to let you know when you're done. The board won't ask questions or
He's a
interact.
track coach. He's used to stopwatches.
You're ready. We're just here to listen to your input. So if you'll state your name and your address and then go ahead.
My name is Chase Meyer. My address is 676 Memorial Drive, Apartment 101, Idaho Falls, 83402. I'm also a teacher at Skyline, teach history, head track coach, and assistant football coach. And I'm here to speak to the proposed board policy adding language about retaliation that is going to be read later today. And I just have some confusion and some questions about that. It seems and feels like this is more of an attack against teachers and coaches because we already have language that deals with this issue. There are state code of ethics. There is courts that have ruled against retaliation. A student can say whatever they want at home, and I can't bench that kid for what they say on TikTok. So we have things in place already within our own school district that deals with this issue. And by no means should a coach or a teacher ever retaliate against the kid. And it feels like we already have that covered. So why do we add more language on that issue? Especially some that I feel is a little unclear maybe in what that would constitute. For example, I have maybe an athlete play 6 plays this week. Next week, they don't get any. The parent had talked to me after the week of 6 plays. Did I retaliate because I didn't play that athlete? I played less the next week. There's a lot of reasons that go into play time. Maybe the week they got 6 plays, we were up by 3 scores. The next week, it's a close game. Or next week, it's a running clock. I never got a chance to get him in the game. And so it's really hard. They have evidence that I played their kid less than I did the week before after they complained. And so there's so much subjectivity in that it makes it really hard for me as a coach. So now I have to play that kid the next week. But then what's that mean for every other parent that comes to me complaining about their athlete? Okay, and so I have that problem. Also as a teacher, right? A student complains to me in my class, right? Their parent complains. So now it's very much a perception issue. That kid is automatically going to feel scrutinized more. Same with an athlete, if their parent complains, right? Even if there's no extra scrutiny, you feel that. That's a very much a perception thing. And so now if I call that kid more or less, is that retaliation? Even if it's other circumstances at play. So there's so much perception that plays into this and just subjectivity that it makes it really difficult as a teacher and coach to be able to effectively do my job.
Thanks, Chase.
Julie, IFEA report.
Is that the only?
Yep, that's the only info.
Need to acknowledge the email info that we got, featured input.
Yeah, we can go ahead and do that. So
I need to read it, but I guess.
yeah,
just-
we did receive a couple, sorry, Julie, I got ahead of myself. I believe a couple emails from the Skyline counselors and
List of
a list
principals.
of secondary principals regarding that second reading of that final board policy as well. Thank you, Larry. Yeah, you, Julie.
How are you? Thank you for having me tonight. I wanted to talk about a couple of things that are coming up. We have some members going down for lobby day on Sunday night and Monday to the Capitol, where we'll be with local lawmakers, and with the superintendent. We're also going to head back on the 20th of February, where Laura Milton, who's in charge of our Chair Pace Committee, will set up appointments with our local lawmakers, talk about whatever issues are coming up with education, and hoping that we'll meet with Superintendent Critchfield as well. So that's pretty exciting. We're also getting ready to elect our delegates to send to delegate assembly. That will happen in April. And those delegates will be elected by our membership to go to Boise and represent the IFEA at the IEA assembly. I am gonna piggyback a little bit off of what Chase Meyer said here as well. I think teachers in this district, staff in this district, our board, our administrators, we get involved in education for no other reason than to put students first and to do what's best for students. And one of our goals always has to be not only to attract qualified applicants, but to retain those that have given so much to our district. And retaining these employees means that sometimes we need to make sure that those stakeholders, those employees who are stakeholders, are heard and listened to. And I would tell you that recently, I'm not 100% sure that we feel that way. We do our best every day, sometimes all hours of the day. It takes a lot for people to write letters to the board. You have to be brave to do that. Not that you all are terrifying, but you kind of are. And you know, sometimes we worry if we voice our opinions, if we share too much. We don't want to be troublemakers, but we do want to fight for our kids. Every decision that we make is about our students every single day. You all know my history. You know, if I didn't love kids, I'd be working as an engineer. It's not for the money. It's for the love of our schools, our students, and our community. And we had a big hit this year with the bond. And we have to find a way to come back. We have to find a way to prove to this community that our students are more valuable than any personal agenda that anybody has. And our teachers live that. They walk that every single day. And I would just beg you to actually take some time to really hear what they're saying. I don't think you hear them speak out too much, so when they do, please listen. Our students deserve the very best. They deserve the best from us, and they deserve the best from you. And I am worried, I really am worried, for the first time in a really long time, that we are going to lose good people in this district. We're going to lose administrators, we're going to lose teachers, we're going to lose coaches, we're going to lose more support if we don't try to turn some things around in the district. And today, our students lost because I believe very strongly that our students lost a huge supporter of public education. And I don't want to see that happen anymore. Any admin, any teachers, our students deserve that.
Thank you, Julie. Okay, our next item is the consent agenda. Do we have any questions or issues that need addressed? Okay, do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Sorry, I just needed to remind myself what was everything on the consent agenda. I just raised an issue with Dr. Shank on student travel. Were you able to look in?
I looked at it when we visited on the phone, we resolved that.
Okay.
It was for the 4 days.
Oh, no, but it was with
IF.
Chris Powell's signature
Yeah,
also, and then the
right.
numbers including the IF.
We'll follow up with the Chris Powell signature.
Do those numbers include the IF students, the 28 students?
That's my understanding, yes.
Okay. I don't have any other questions.
Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll move we approve the consent agenda.
Have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor of approving the consent agenda, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? The motion to approve the consent agenda passes. Now on to our action items. Our first item is a trustee resignation. I'd like to take this time first to thank Laura for her service and her years of commitment to the board and as the chair We all greatly appreciate it. She's done a great job for the district and will be missed. So with that though, we now have, let me find my papers. We now have a vacancy that we need to address. So per code section 1000-1130, we have the resignation that we as a board will need to accept. And then per code section 1000-1140, we'll need to post a vacancy to find an appointment to fill the board position. Jess has put some language out there for the motion that takes care of both of those portions. Before we get there, she talked to ISBA today and kind of has a list of how these next steps look. So the first part is that we need to fill this position as soon as feasibly possible, in the best interest of the district and the board. We have 30 days, generally speaking, that we're going to want to post this so that we can receive applicants and letters of interest. Jess, so it looks like last time when you looked at it, correct me if I'm wrong here, Jess, that we received letters of interest from people that were applying, and then we didn't have an application, but Jess went ahead and just did kind of a basic, I can pass this down application that has the name, verifying that they live in the zone so that, you know, she can easily check and make sure they're allowed to even be involved, and then just any professional roles or service roles that they might want us to be aware of. Just real basic there, and then the letter of interest will tie out the rest of that. I passed out the rest of my stuff. So, you know, we need to post it. We need to decide if we want to post tomorrow, if we want to post on Monday. The sooner we post, I don't really see a reason to delay. So I would probably recommend posting tomorrow.
I would ask for tomorrow. There's
Get it
no
moving
reason to
forward.
wait.
Say 30 days from then, we'll see the number of applicants we received, and I think that will kind of determine the next course of action. ISBA said, you know, if it's less than 5, you know, we kind of go through the interview process, which I believe Elizabeth, you're probably the only one that hasn't been through it on one side of the table or the other. Generally, there's a slate of questions and everybody's asked the same question. So it's pretty straightforward there. If we have more than 5, we may have Dr. Shank send out a questionnaire to kind of get some general input and then do an elimination so that we don't need to interview 12 or 15 people. And so that's where, when I see you look at the schedule there, Paul, we're probably going to have, you know, some additional meetings that we're going to need to have.
Has the 30 days a recommendation or a statute?
Recommendation.
Because
So
we'd only be
statute,
3 days off if we did it if we had those interviews on the 14th. We'd be 27 days instead of 30th. That would fit with our board
is-
schedule.
right, so it's 30 days from declaring
A vacancy from posting, a vacancy.
that we have to do.
It's a recommendation.
Okay, so it's just the recommendation. So do we want to do it as part of the board business meeting?
That's been my experience, where I did it myself. And then when the others we've done, it was that way. It was part of I think it has to be part of the board meeting. Or at least
Special board, we could have a separate meeting if we didn't want to.
It's the 2 times I've been involved. So my own and then yours, it was, right? Yours was part of the board meeting. Yeah, I was gonna say both of them were part of the board. You just had me start to question my, but both of them were part of the board meeting, but I'm not against a special board
So
meeting.
if we
I
wanted
just-
to do the interviews at the next board meeting, you have the calendar there, Paul, what day is that?
It is March 14th. It's a work session.
One we said maybe we would.
That would be the one that's TBD. So maybe we do TBD it and we have a special board meeting to address this, and then it
So
doesn't have to be
maybe-
the 14th. It could be on Thursday, the 16th, or we just do it on
Do
that
we need to
day.
push it clear into March, or can we?
Just the 30 days is the only reason I said
It's only
March.
January.
Yeah, it's just.
Oh my goodness. Sorry.
January and February is a short month though. But wouldn't we be in the middle of February?
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's
let's
just
do something after, I mean,
So maybe at the business meeting on the 8th, we could look at the applicants we got, decide if we need to consolidate, if we're ready to go to interviews, and then maybe at the work session, do the actual interviews. Would that
So
be
do
good
it,
enough flow? for
well, and I'm
everybody?
even, is there a recommended amount of applicants that ISBA recommends
I
or?
think-
No,
You can't.
they did
Yeah, you
say that
can.
our area, Idaho Falls area, does have a lot of applicants.
When I
generally.
applied, there was 3, me and 2
So-
others. I think there was 5, 12.
It's a ton when I did.
So we just need to allow
But we only
time
interviewed
for
5,
people
right?
to apply.
But if we set a
But we
date,
only
we need to
interviewed
wait
5,
until
I'm pretty
that.
sure.
I'm just thinking
So
if we
George
got
must have.
20 applicants in the next week, but if we said we're going to accept applicants up until can we do like either or? Like if we get
The first 50
this
are
many,
out.
yeah,
That I don't know.
seems
I'm
more
guessing
fair
we
to
probably
take
have to keep it
everyone who
open.
applies in a set time that we set. In case somebody doesn't hear about it right away.
that's a good point.
I don't know how you disqualify someone when there's really no qualifications established, like needing a certain degree or certain experience or certain stuff
No,
other
what
than.
they recommended is just have a questionnaire that goes out and then, you know, kind of like a preliminary interview. And you look and go, okay, yeah, these guys seem, you know, but we don't have to do that either. We can just go, okay, here's the 20 or here's the 2 and just interview everybody. That's kind of up to us, how we want to.
Can we TBD that?
I think that
Wait and
that's.
see
we
how
could
many
look at the
applications
8th.
we get,
I
and then
think
if-
that, let's plan on that maybe for the business session, that we'll evaluate the applicants and then determine whether, you know,
We just need a due date for that application for me to
Yeah,
post
so-
Can we
vacancy.
put Wednesday, the 8th of February? I know that's not a full
Let's
30
do-
days, but it's
let's do
4
the
weeks.
7th, Larry, just so we have them before the meeting,
Oh,
in
good
case
call.
we get a meeting, so.
Thank you. I
Wednesday
mean,
the
that's
7th.
4 weeks.
Yeah, I think
It's just
Everybody
barely
think
shy.
that's
I think
By the
that's
time that
enough
we'll
time?
get the meeting in
I was gonna say
Almost.
noon on the 8th. That seems a bit
Nice.
much for Jessica. So probably the 7th would be better for our staff.
And then we'll
Then
have
we
a,
can determine at the meeting next steps and set a time. If we want to do interviews on the 21st, or if we want to do a special meeting,
yeah,
we
before
can
then.
determine when that would be.
I think that would be great. Okay, does that get everything you need then, Jess, to, okay. Do I have someone, who's willing to do the motion to declare the vacancy, and
Is that in board docs?
it should be in board docs.
I don't,
And if it's not, I can just.
it's,
There.
there's a
That
there's a
executive
proposed.
Yeah.
It's there.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah, it's.
I'll go ahead and,
You said this covers both.
Yeah,
Both,
it covers ISBA,
paths,
but
right.
just to-
I hereby move that the board declare a vacancy in the trustee position for Zone 3 due to the resignation of a board member, and that the board commence the process established for filling the vacancy for Zone 3 to complete the unexpired portion of such term. I further move that the board direct the superintendent to commence the process for filling such vacancy, posting notice of the trustee vacancy and engaging another notification as provided in board policy or additional notification as deemed appropriate. Following the posting notice to the public, it will be solicited for, can I address that to, until
Just put the date.
February 7th?
Yeah.
And letters of interest will be accepted at the Idaho Falls School District 91 District Office during normal business hours.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
All those in favor of the motion to declare a vacancy, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? And the motion to declare a vacancy passes. Our next item is the second and final reading of board policy. I turn that over to you, Dr. Shank.
Very good. This is Community Relations Patron Complaint, Policy 4110. Based upon the input that we received, I would recommend that the board table this item for at least a month to review it more thoroughly, accept additional language or delete a language. So that's my recommendation.
Any questions, comments? Okay, do I have a motion?
I'll do a motion. I move that we table board policy 4110, public complaints for 1 month, where further research and input can be received by the board.
Have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. All those in favor of tabling board policy 4110, public complaints revised, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And the motion to table policy 4110 passes. Our next one is new course proposals.
We reviewed these last month. These are the same ones that came forward in first reading. It's our recommendation that they be approved this evening.
Questions, comments?
Just a question on formalities. Can we just do as outlined, or do we need to read each course proposal?
ISBA asks that we read one.
I'll make the motion. I'll do it.
Okay, do I have a motion regarding the
Okay.
23-24 course proposals?
So I move that we approve the new course proposals for school year 23-24 as.
Sorry, can I interrupt you right there? Because I just saw that could be potentially, if under that language, these proposals can only be used in next school session. So do we want this proposal to be for an ongoing school sessions also? Or only available for next year and not any year following?
I wouldn't limit it. Yeah.
Okay, so I
I'm
would just,
using the language
I
here,
know,
so-
but that's why I saw that was gonna, in my proposal was not gonna include it,
Well,
but
tell me-
I want you to do the proposal. But that's why I cut you off, is to just say, let's not limit it to this, only this next school year.
Okay.
Let's just
Begin.
Yeah, to begin this
Okay.
next school year, maybe.
Let's try this again. I make a motion to approve the new course proposals to begin in school year 2023-2024. Better?
Perfect.
Okay. And the proposals are, do I need to read the school they're from or just the title?
No, just. We don't need a title.
Oh, thank you. Animation, Akadeca, housing, interiors and furnishings, agricultural biology, advanced medical assisting, academy preparation, law and fire, introduction to light sport aircraft, introduction to electronics technologies, certified medical assistant, intro to ag education, experimental learning and SAE programs, applied livestock management, applied greenhouse management, intro to dance appreciation, student government, Spanish 201 and 202, geometry lab, food science, forensics 1, forensics 2, English 115, major themes in literature, business economics, aquaponics, veterinary science, lifetime fitness.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that motion.
All those in favor of approving the new course proposal, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? And the motion to approve the new course proposals passes.
Thank you.
Supplemental levy.
What's before you tonight is to approve the ballot for the supplemental levy for March 14th, 2023. And I think Angela prepared
Yes,
so we don't have to read the entire ballot
I called Nick and
It's
Jess
in-
has the
it should be
wording.
in there.
in here.
Yes,
Okay.
it's a lot simpler than we were worried.
Are there any questions regarding the supplemental levy? Okay, do I have a motion?
Would you mind, Dr. Saint, just making sure that the public all knows what the purpose of the supplemental levy is?
And the renewal, it's not new.
Yeah, this is not a new levy. It's been around for, gosh, at least a couple of decades. Actually, we list what these things are, or what the supplemental is used for. And again, it's a renewal. We're not asking for more money. It's $6.8 million each year and has been that way for a long, long time. So what we use these for, these dollars, the following purposes, and it's stated in this document. Okay, so one is safety and security, school resource officers, guidance and health counselors, psychologists, school nurses, and health technologists. We list extracurricular activities, debate, choir, drama, band, orchestra, sports, etc. And then salaries and benefits for teachers and staff for a total amount of $6.8 million. To be more precise, there is some additional specific amounts listed in the ballot. For instance, $520 for extra, I think that's after we list the psychologists, school nurses, and then extracurricular activities, including those ones that I listed at $850,000. So it's very specific on what it is that we will spend these dollars for, and we will. That's what our commitment is.
Thank you.
Do I have a motion to approve the supplemental levy resolution?
Yeah, I'll move that the board approve the resolution as presented to authorize the district's renewal of the supplemental levy election.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any additional questions? All those in favor of approving the supplemental levy resolution, say aye.
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 Any opposed? And the motion passes. Next item, employee 2022-2023D.
It's recommended that the board release employee D from contract for the remainder of the year.
Any questions? Have a motion regarding employee 2022-2023D.
I'll make a motion to approve the release of contract for employee 2022-2023D.
Have a second? Go ahead, Paul.
I'll second.
All those in favor of approving the contract release for employee 2022-2023D, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And the motion passes. Employee 2022-2023E.
It's my recommendation that we release employee E from contract.
Any questions? Okay, do I have a motion regarding employee 2022-2023E?
I'll move that we approve the release of contract for employee 2022-2023E.
Have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor of releasing employee 2022-2023E from their contract, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes. Having no further business before the board, this meeting is adjourned.